Are we all here?
Are we all here, Scott?
I'll be continually letting people in, but yeah, you have 235 in and people are still filing little by little. So I'll just keep letting people in.
All right.
Fine, did you want to start?
All right, everybody's in right now.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening, parents, guardians, and students. Welcome. This is the first of a number of parents. Say that again? All right. That we will have meetings through now until July 28th. We understand that we must react to the constant changes of both the state and the county governments in regard to the COVID-19 virus. We are here to answer your questions. As a parent myself, I share the concerns that we have for our students, our kids. Those concerns include health and safety for our students, teachers, and staff, and the continuity of education for our students. It is also important that we recognize that our teachers are also family members and that extra measures must be enacted to protect them. Because of the ongoing pandemic, the board, the superintendent, and the school district leadership are working to find a way to start the school year the best way possible. It's like we are solving a complex equations with multiple unknowns. The first unknown is obviously the behavior of the coronavirus and the way our nation is trying to control it until we have vaccines and cure. Our plans for the school year must be practical, effective, and flexible in accordance with the local, state, and federal policies. Not to give away the book, but I just want to tell you that in this meeting, you will hear from the superintendent. She will explain why we have these meetings, including distance learning and hybrid. We will then have questions and answers period where we listen and respond to your concerns. So I'm going to turn this over to Vice President Norwood to introduce himself, and he will then introduce the superintendent. So thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for the partnership in our children's education.
Thank you, Board President Han-Lien. Good evening, parents and students and caregivers. My name is Chris Norwood, and I'm the current Vice President of Milpitas Unified School District Board of Education. We are living in uncertain times. Each day there is more information that we learn about COVID-19 that we on a global scale, on a national scale, on a state scale, in our local community. It is important as we look to align with the 5 strategic goals that Milpitas Unified School District has for us to focus on what we call the culture of we. The we includes our parents, our students, our teachers, our staff, and our community leaders. And tonight is where we are creating a greater opportunity to hear the voices of our community, to answer the questions of parents, and to share what we are dealing with as leaders in the city of Milpitas, and also caring about the staff and the best outcome for all. We look forward to your comments. We understand that there's a lot of things that you're concerned about. You may not receive all the answers to the questions that are being presented tonight. And to be very frank, some of the answers that you may not be satisfied with. But we are in this together. And as time changes and we get more news, we are going to be flexible. We are going to continue to learn how to adjust. We're also going to make sure that we do what's best for our children in the city of Milpitas. They are our future. We want to be mindful of preparing them. We want to do all that we can to make sure that they're ready for an unknown world tomorrow. And that is conducting learning in the best possible way with safety and security of all in mind. And with that said, I will turn the stage over, or the conversation over, to our superintendent, Cheryl Jordan.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, President Lien and Vice President Norwood. I would like to also acknowledge that we have our board clerk, Ms. Kelly Schwan, board member Min No, and board member Michael Sy with us, as well as several of our staff members, including our Assistant Superintendent of Learning and Development, Norma Rodriguez, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Human Relations, Mr. Jonathan Brunson, and our Milpitas Teachers Association President, Diana Orlando, and California School Employees Association President, Michelle Kessinger. And I acknowledge all of them as leaders in what we do, as well as the many others who are here to serve our students and to serve our families in the best way possible. Our strategic goals are 5, as Vice President Norwood mentioned, and there are several of them, actually all of them, at play as we look to implementing the best possible MUSD Educate Everywhere experience for all of our learners in the conditions of COVID-19. And a culture of we is definitely at the top of that list. I feel very proud about the work that our staff has done, that our team has done, and that each of you, our parents, has done in making our experience as best as possible to date. And as I've said before at board meetings and in other community meetings, if it wasn't for the work of all of us together, we would not have made it through the spring in the manner that we did, where we launched distance learning in 3 days and ensured that all of our students had technology as well as some access to Wi-Fi in one form or another. And while I talked with my counterparts, who I meet with at least once, if not twice weekly, at the Santa Clara County superintendents, all 32 of us, some of them are beginning to publish their plans on their websites. And I have that sense of wanting to keep up with them. However, Milpitas is unique. And the reason why we will not be publishing detailed plans this week in the manner that some of them are is because while they have their strategies on involving people to create plans, ours is truly an example of what it means to be a culture of we. And I'm proud to say that in addition to the over 6,000 responses we've had through all of the various surveys throughout the spring and including in in June, we have over 200 people working in subcommittees to develop the detailed plans of our Educate Everywhere for phasing in 2021. And when you have that many people working on things, you move a little more slowly than you do when you have 20 or 30 people or less. So let me begin tonight. We asked all of you, rather than simply giving you the link on our calendar to these meetings that President Lien has introduced you to, we asked you to provide us with questions. Why? Because when you provide us with questions ahead of time, it also serves as another data point for us. And so what you see on the screen is what's called a word cloud. That word cloud is created by taking all of the 1,011 questions that 1,011 of you posed and copying and pasting all those words into this word cloud generator, and that's what we have. So what you see on the screen is, in a sense, a visual summary of what's on top for everybody. And it's good to see that what's on top are learning and students and school. And we see teachers and safety and child We also see words like hybrid and distance and virtual and online and class and plan and model. And all of these are aspects of what it means to have our students in MUSD educate everywhere. We have taken the questions and we've grouped them into common themes, and that's what we're going to address tonight. I ask that you remember to keep your mute on, and for the sake of community, it's good protocol for us to see each other's faces. So if you would please make sure that your video is on, we would be greatly appreciative. Because when we're a part of a community, it means that we see each other, we don't see numbers, and we don't see initials, but we actually see people's faces. So if you would, please turn on your videos. As we go through these questions, we'll provide answers and have some discussion about them amongst our leaders. And as we draw closer to 8 p.m., if we have already gone through all of these questions and there's time, we will take some live questions as well. And please know that there are 5 other meetings planned this Thursday and the following 4 Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6:30 to 8. Granted, we will have different focus areas. Tonight's focus is elementary. Next week is middle school, and the week after is high school, but you are welcome to be at every single one. So let's start with our first question. What safety protocols will be in place? I can give you a quick rundown on what our safety protocols will be that are in place. We have started, actually we began around the middle of May and through the month of June, replacing all of our air filters and making sure that every one of them had the minimum, if not greater than standard of filter. It is called MBE 13, and we have MBE 13-8s. It's important for us to have the best air quality because we want our air circulating in the classrooms and in the offices at the optimum for safety measures. We also have purchased several machines which are called Clorox systemic disinfectors. And those we will use as we have done already to mist all of the classrooms, and those provide deep sanitation in addition to our regular disinfecting and cleaning protocols that we will have in place in addition to what we are already doing. Other of our safety protocols that are in place are making sure we have signage for one-way foot traffic. Why is one-way foot traffic important? It's because it helps to limit exposure of aerosols from people who are coming towards you. It also helps to provide social distancing. We will have signage in place for social distancing, as well as visual reminders of washing hands, appropriate hygiene, such as sneezing into your elbow, and reminders to disinfect your hands regularly. We will have disinfecting hand sanitizer in every classroom, regular visits to the bathrooms for hand washing. We are looking at installing hand washing stations near those portables where they are a little bit further away from the bathrooms. We are in the process of procuring sneeze guards for all of our office staff, as well as in our special education classrooms, and in other areas where it's needed, we will have sneeze guards in place. We are investigating and most likely going to purchase something called a portable sneeze guard for our students that they can use at their desks or at their tabletops. And so those are examples of the safety protocols we have in place. In addition, we will have PPE in place. As a matter of fact, the state has provided us with 60 days worth of PPE face coverings for students and staff, as well as additional hand sanitizer. And to supplement what the state is providing, we are also expending some of our funds that we have received from the state and the federal government around PPE. It's about $250,000 that we budgeted for ensuring that we have facial coverings and face shields for teachers and personnel who work with younger students as well as special ed students. And for our health clerks, we will have, and also paraprofessionals who work directly with students who have special needs around personal hygiene. We will have smock coverings for them. So those are examples of our PPE and safety protocols that we'll have in place. The next question is about how do we register for MUSD Educate Everywhere 100% distance learning? And the next question after that is if we choose to have our children participate in 100% Educate Everywhere distance learning for the year, will they lose their spots at their home school? And I'm going to ask our Assistant Superintendent of Learning and Development, Ms. Norma Rodriguez, to take us through the response to those questions. Assistant Superintendent Rodriguez.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Superintendent Jordan, and thank you, everyone, for your very insightful questions. In terms of applying for and registering students for the 100% Educate Everywhere distance learning, we have two ways in doing that. For all of our current enrolled students, the parents were sent the information via Parent Square, where you, through the parent, Aries parent portal, you select and you approve or authorize the students attending that form. For the new parents, because the new parents are new to our school district, they have pre-enrolled. They do have an ID. However, we have not done the rollover for the new academic year. Those parents, we also have now worked with a way for our communication specialists to, via Parent Square, complete a registration form and send it to the Department of Learning and Development, where we are including you in that registration.
Thank you, Norma. Before we go on, President Lien, do you have anything that you would like to add?
No, I don't. Go on. Who is monitoring the chat with the questions?
Vice President Norwood is monitoring chats, and then also Scott Forstner is writing them down so we can capture them.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And parents, just send in your questions. If it's not answered tonight, you will find out that it's going to be in one of the sessions for Thursday and then the following week.
Okay. So when does school start? School starts August 13th. And when will MUSD Educate Everywhere begin with in-person learning? I can tell you that for the first 6 weeks, MUSD Educate Everywhere will be in place. And at the discretion of our teachers, they will be able to bring in students in small groups or one-on-one, providing that conditions for safety are in place. And again, that's at their discretion. And as you know, conditions are constantly changing. When we first made this statement in June at the board meetings that we would have 100% distance learning for everybody phasing in for 4 weeks, at that time the curve was flattening. This week the curve seems to be going up, and so that's why we're looking at the first 6 weeks at this point in time. And that is fluid, as is COVID-19, and may change. And when will MUSD Educate Everywhere, will families be on the same schedule? Well, that's something that as a parent, if I had more than one child, I would so very much appreciate it if I could be accommodated and have all of my children and their various schools on the same schedule. However, I don't believe we'll be able to accommodate that for those of you who have children at multiple school sites. For those of you who have multiple children at the same school site, for example, if you have 3 children at Rose Elementary or Randall Elementary, whatever elementary school it might be, we have figured out that if we provide the schedules based on households, then we should be able to have all of your children on the same schedule at that school. And some of you might be wondering, what are you talking about schedule, Superintendent? We're talking about for the time when the time comes that we can have in-person school for our MUSD Educate Everywhere, where children are coming on campus in an A-B type schedule, half on one day, half on the other day. That's the kind of schedule we're talking about and trying to keep the children together from single households. Because that makes things a little easier for you at home. When will we know if our children have been overflowed? Overflowing students is something that we've had to do ourselves, as well as many other districts across the state, because at the elementary levels, when we have children in TK through 3rd grade, they have a set number of students that we can have on average, which is 24-1. And we cannot exceed that average, because if we do, then we risk being penalized by the state for our funding. So what we have to do is what we call overflow children to another school nearby where they have room. And that typically occurs the first week of school when we see everybody in their seats that they've attended on the first day. So Ms. Rodriguez, would you please add in some more information about when people might know if their child has been overflowed, particularly at Matos?
Absolutely. So thank you, Superintendent Jordan. For all of our schools, it would be critical for that first day of school, as the teachers are taking attendance, whether it is on the hybrid or the 100% distance learning, we will want to know how many students would have present. No different than every year when we come by 4 o'clock and look at all of the students who have intended to attend our schools, who have shown up. We usually do that in normal times within the 10 days. This time we are being allotted at least a minimum of 1 month to stabilize our numbers.
Okay. Let's see, when will we have confirmation that our children are in the 100% distance learning program and Educate Everywhere? Ms. Rodriguez?
Can you repeat the question, Superintendent Jordan, please?
Yes. When will we know that our children are confirmed for the 100% distance learning program and Educate Everywhere?
Sure. So we had asked all of our parents who were opting for this model to notify us by July 24th. We are monitoring the numbers on a regular basis, and we intend to notify our parents no later than the first week of August.
Thank you. And how will we know if our children have been exposed to COVID-19 by someone at school? Well, we already have protocols in place for notifying parents when children are exposed to others who have communicable diseases such as the chicken pox or I'm always forgetting the name of that virus, that stomach virus that we dealt with 2 years ago, that people tend to get when they're on cruise ships, and that's its nickname. At any rate, the name's not coming to me. But we have protocols in place. We have official documentation from the public health department that we have to send to all of the students who are in that child's class. And the public health department is working on similar documents for us to send home when we have a child confirmed or an adult confirmed in a class with COVID. And what we do know from the public health department's opening school document that they published on June 30th, at the end of that document, the public health department has provided several scenarios for what schools are supposed to do when somebody is confirmed with COVID. And the number one thing is we need to notify everybody who has been around that person. And secondly, we need to put all those people into quarantine for 14 days, as well as the person who's been confirmed with COVID. So let's say we're at an elementary school, because we're talking elementary school tonight. Because the public health department's recommendations and requirements for elementary school is that we provide, once we move into in-person school, that the children are in stable cohorts, meaning that they stay within their class with the same adults. So what the public health department has outlined is that that class would be quarantined for 14 days. It doesn't necessarily indicate what will happen for the other classes at that same school site. So I'm going to say what I know now is that if that were the case, we would have a discussion with the public health department about potentially quarantining the entire school for 14 days. And for those of you who are here and you also have middle or high school students, what the public health department illustrates is that in a sense you would do contact tracing, because the children at those levels have different classes that they travel to. And again, we would have serious conversation with the public health department about probably putting the entire school into quarantine for 14 days. I noticed also that there was a question in the chat in regards to that, and I think I might have responded to that as well. Let's see, moving on to different topic. What will grading and assessment look like in MUSD Educate Everywhere? Will attendance be taken in Educate Everywhere? And the answers to those are yes. Something that we learned as a state, and especially something we learned in Milpitas, is that our experience this past spring, while definitely commendable, I have to admittedly say it was not necessarily the best for teachers and students, because we were all learning how to do distance learning together. Having had that experience and now having the summer for preparation as well as preparing during the first weeks of school, and we have a large number of teachers who are doing professional development this summer to learn how to better do distance learning, we, as well as the state, will need to require daily attendance. We will ensure that every day the student is contacted by the teacher. That might be virtually, as I'm doing right now with all of you. It may be by text, it may be by phone call, and in some cases it may be in person, particularly like for our special ed students. Also, what will be required is regular progress reporting for our parents about what their children are doing and how their children are learning and progressing. And then we also need to make sure that we are documenting in some way each week that our students are engaged. How is that done? Because they've participated in discussions online, because they have submitted classwork or assignments or projects, or completed quizzes or other forms of assessment, that week. Those are all the ways that we might be able, that we could document that a student has been engaged for each week. So you're definitely going to see grades, and you're definitely going to see that there is a higher level of daily involvement, because it's our expectation as a district, all of our teachers want the best for our kids, and they want to connect with our kids because our kids are their kids, and they mean a lot to them, and they want to do their best. So those will be very different from what the experience was like this past spring. And then how many minutes will students be in MUSD Educate Everywhere? Every single day, we are required in this new school year to provide our students with the equivalent of the minimum day of minutes. So for those students who are in TK, transitional kindergarten, through third grade, through second grade, the minimum minute requirement is 180 minutes. And then for third grade through 12th grade, the minimum minute requirement each day is 240 minutes. So does that mean 240 minutes of the teacher actually having conversation or instruction with the student every single day? No, what it means is there will be some instruction by the teacher, and also there will be some project or other assignments. So collectively, the student has to be in instruction and learning and demonstrating the progress of their learning for 240 minutes every day. And that is at the teacher's discretion to figure out what that looks like, as well as how to document that, because we do have to have weekly documentation. Assistant Superintendent of Learning and Development, Norma Rodriguez, would you please add a little bit more to that explanation?
Sure, Superintendent. Jordan, you explained a lot. Which one specifically would you like me to hone in?
How about how we are able to document that we are providing our students with 240 minutes of instruction and working each day?
Absolutely. Absolutely, thank you. So that it's part of the plan that we have to submit to the state and also to the board in terms of the instructional minutes. And our teachers are working collaboratively with their principals in terms of we have reached a decision and a recommendation from one of the committees, the committee working with curriculum, instruction, and grading and assessment. The committee decided that how important it is for all of us to be on the same platform, and the teachers will be using the Google Classroom. The Google Classroom allows the teachers to assign the assignments to the students and keep the parents constantly informed as to the progress that the students are making. The other decision in terms of the curriculum and monitoring the student progress and keeping the parents informed is that the teachers are coming together and as grade levels to look at the standards and create a cohesive and aligned system on the focus for those standards, with the understanding that what is changing is that we are accustomed to having 185 days of instruction with 6 hours of our students in front of us. That has changed. We need to adapt to continue to create that quality, and very grateful that the committees have taken the time to articulate and to plan for that versus the 3 days that very heroically we created a plan. And this plan has been very thoughtful, and we are taking the time to intentionally address the taking of the attendance, ensuring that we are in constant communication with the parents. We've also have heard from the parents themselves as to what works, and instead of having too many different platforms. That's why the decision was to have only one platform, train our parents on that platform so that we're all on the same page.
And Ms. Rodriguez, since you're talking about parent supports, would you go into also adding a bit more about how we understand from what parents shared with us this spring, and also what they talked about in our different parent meetings that we had as far as their need to better understand what's happening? Could you add a bit more to what we plan to do for parent professional development or parent academy?
Yes, thank you, Superintendent Jordan. Absolutely. And again, kudos to our committees. One of our committees is looking for the parent engagement. And we have parents in that committee, and we have included, the committee has done an outstanding job, the facilitators, of including the voices of the parents as to what went well, what's challenging for our parents, and identifying the need for us to partner with our parents. Understanding that we are playing our role as parents at home, and how do we partner with the educators so that we can support. And one of the things that has come up is for our parents to understand how to access the technology tools that our teachers utilize. And so creating some tutorials for our parents, either by grade level or by department. And one of the things that we have heard from the parents is they love to hear from the teachers. Having one place to go for information is critical. And so is it a teacher website, a grade level website at that school? That's where they like to go, that they identified as an area. The other one was for us to establish something similar to the C2C, which is parent to parent. Some of the parents who are part of that committee have shared how willing they are to offer some training for other parents. We have parents with a variety of gifts that they are willing to offer to our community, and in this collaborative effort for them to, it's just, we need to create that forum for them, and we are establishing the parent to parent. The very first launching of that is going to be by welcoming our newest members of our family, which are our TK parents and our kindergarten, some of our kindergarten parents, and we have scheduled a session, the first session for them in August 4th, I believe.
Thank you. And I see in the chat, thank you. I'm not sure if it's S. Maruti or Ms. Maruti, but thank you for pointing out and catching my error. The kinder is 100 TK, and kinder is 180 minutes per day. And 1 through 3 is 230 minutes per day. And then 4 through 12 is 240 minutes per day. And
Sure.
yes, go ahead.
Sure, thank you. I just wanted to confirm it was not very clear. So I guess that many people have asked the same questions, and people were not very confirmed on it. So one quick thing on the same is, so those, say my daughter is going to be in first grade now in Spangler. And if she is going for in-person in the school versus online from home, so are those number of hours going to be same? Because in general, the school hours are usually from 8:30 a.m. to 2:45 p.m. for first graders, right?
So
So are we going?
they're asking for a schedule, and just so I can be clear with everybody, we've come to the end of the written common questions to this point. And we have 374 participants, which is phenomenal, and is definitely one of the grand opportunities of living in a distance with each other. So I'm really glad to have 374 people here with us tonight. We won't be able to get to everybody's question, and so please be patient, and we will get to as many as we can before 8 o'clock. And as I said, or maybe I didn't, but we are putting together these frequently asked questions, and we will definitely publish them in the next week. We want to first see what other questions we get on Thursday's meeting and then the following Tuesday's meeting. So to get to your question, it sounds like you're looking for, are we going to have some sort of a schedule in the distance learning as we would for in-person learning? And that is something that our subcommittees are working on. And it is an aspect of our learning experience this spring that we found would probably be more helpful for parents and students if we had some kind of set schedule. So if you take a look at what we have on the front page of our website, you'll see the different models for our elementary, middle, and high school. And you'll see that they do have set schedules.
Sure, thank you.
Mm-hmm. There was also a question earlier about if a person chooses 100% distance learning for at least the first half of the year, will they lose their spot at their home school? And what we've been talking about as far as those who choose the 100% distance learning within Educate Everywhere is that we need to have a sense of home. We need to have a sense of connection. And our schools, especially the elementary schools, that's like our home base, not only for our students, but also for our staff members. So we want to keep them as their home base is their home school. So no, you won't lose your spot. However, if at the semester, based on whatever the circumstances are, if it looks like we still need to continue with the progress that we're at on that point, and you decide that you want your child to come back to the, if we're doing in person at that point, and you want them to come back, it'll depend on if there is a way that we can accommodate them at their home school at that point. They may need to be at a different school, but then for the following school year, you would definitely be at your home school. Hope that helps to explain that. Vice President Norwood, you were monitoring the chats. Is there another question that you see coming up that we should address?
Okay, talk about TK, please.
TK? Yes. Ms. Rodriguez, could you talk about TK, because our transitional kinder and most of our kinder and a large number of our kindergarten students, their families are brand new. Could you talk about the technology pieces that they might get, as well as when they're notified about their TK placement?
Yes, absolutely. So today we have been monitoring all of the enrollment for the TK, and up to date we have 140 TK students that have been enrolled. The parents who have opted for the online learning, we have been monitoring that as well. Today was the day where we finalized the placements, because we have 5 sites that are hosting TK classrooms or classes. And so we are notifying the parents, the letters have been drafted, and we're notifying the parents, sending the letters home by Friday, no later than Friday. Everyone will be receiving their notification.
Did you say no later than this Friday?
No later than this Friday. Today was the day that we were able to create all of the classes, yes. So we have 2 TK classes that have been assigned to Spangler. We have 1 TK class at Pomeroy, 1 at Burnett, 1 at Rose, and we have 1 at Randall. We have 5 sites with TK classes, a total of 7 TK classes with 140 students enrolled.
Thank you. And could you also address the question I see popping up about if I have a child who's doing the 100% distance learning and my child's homeschool is Curtner, will a teacher from Curtner be teaching my student?
So that's a great question, and I've been working very closely with our association, and one of the things is that it all depends. We need to know how many teachers are, just like our parents, we're asking our parents, how many of you are opting for the 100% distance learning or virtual, the same as for our teachers. And we are looking at finalizing those numbers, like I said, by probably the end of the month.
Thank you. I see a question asking about kindergarten as well. And kindergarten would be like TK. And perhaps you could put in there what specifically it is that you're looking for regarding kindergarten. Vice President Norwood, what is another question that you see coming up frequently?
Another question that I see coming up frequently is understanding about the beginning of school. Are people supposed to show up at schools? You know, what if they aren't? What if they don't want to do? What if they don't want to do online or educate everywhere? And the thing that I've been sharing through the chat on a consistent basis is the fact that everyone starts educate everywhere. And could you talk a little bit about the phased approach?
Yes. So yes, everybody starts educate everywhere. And the phased approach allows us to do two things. It allows us during that time that everybody is learning from a distance, it allows us to ensure that the conditions for safety are in place at all of our schools. It allows us to ensure that our team members, our teachers, have everything that they need to be safe, because they are, we do know that they are more at risk than those who are 12 and under of passing along the COVID. And we want to make sure that they're safe, because without them, we don't have learning, somebody who can help guide the learning. And in addition to that, during the phased approach, it allows for our teachers at their discretion to, if they wanted to, and if the condition was safe enough, to have one-on-one or a small group of students and parents to come in so they can make sure they understand the hybrid model and expectations. It also allows for us to make sure that conditions are right before we bring larger groups of students on campus for in-person learning, following the models that we've described in our June board meetings.
Cheryl, it's Diana.
Mm-hmm.
Can you or Norma, hi Chris, can you or Norma answer those questions about if I sign up for 100% virtual and I want to switch mid-year, can I, or vice versa?
Thank you. So Norma, you want to take that one?
Sure. We definitely want to make sure that our parents choose, and we want to ensure that when they make the choice for the 100% virtual, that they do understand that there's a lot of movement in terms of the teachers, in terms of assigning the classes. So we want them the commitment for the first semester. To minimize this disruption for the child's routine, we advise the families to commit to that, at least for the first semester. However, we do understand that some students might not be responsive for that, and we would want to come together and decide if this is not the best option for a student. We will want to see if there is a possibility for us to move them, but we want to have that commitment at least for the whole semester.
Thank you.
Thanks, Norma.
What other common questions do you see coming up in the chat?
The availability of the answers to a lot of the questions that are being asked, that's being posted. What I've shared is that we do have another meeting on Thursday, And we look at compiling the two sets from the two different meetings, and then publishing the answers to the questions shortly thereafter. So it's a more comprehensive, because we expect to get different pieces of feedback as well. There's also been asked about a link to this video recording so people can listen again. There are a number of people who have not been enrolled in Parent Square. And Scott, people are going to be blowing you up because I know how to type your email address really, really fast, so that you can help get them directed to their schools. So I think if I were to circle back, the question, the biggest question again, and maybe clarifying the term educate everywhere and hybrid and distance learning and flexible learning. And I think that would be very helpful to everyone.
Okay. So within MUSD Educate Everywhere, that's our program. And we have two paths. One is 100% distance learning. And that is something that parents have been asked about registering, that the registration process is happening right now. And if you go to our website, you'll see for those who are current students, and if you're interested in that, you can hit for current students. If you are new, you can click new students and it'll explain to you how to register for 100% distance learning. The difference between that and the model where we have, that we call hybrid, is at some point, students will come in small groups in person to the classroom for instruction. And that'll be beginning first with 1 day per week for elementary and then 2 days a week for elementary. And I had seen a question about, and I think Ms. Rodriguez answered this, but I saw a question about if my child is in the in-person partially model, also known as hybrid, and I decide that in October or November, I would prefer to have them in 100% distance learning, can I register? And the problem is that there may not be a spot for you. And so the answer is a most likely no. It's not a definite no, because there is always case-by-case basis and depending on if the conditions are available. But otherwise, the answer would be no. You'd have to wait till the semester. So the in-person means that the students are coming in small groups to have instruction with the teacher in the classroom. Distance learning means the children are at home and either through what's called synchronous instruction. That means just like we're doing right now, that we're doing synchronous meetings, it's live, it's happening. Or asynchronous means that for those who didn't get to come tonight, or those of you who want to watch later, you'll be able to watch the video recording. That's asynchronous. So you can watch it alone on your own time. And then also teachers will have, they'll also have other ways that students can work together virtually on projects and individual assignments, as well as reading and research. So there's a myriad of ways that we have discovered, that we're discovering, that teachers can provide learning experiences online from a distance. And that's what they're working on to get better at. And some of them have already been there because they've been using it for a while, but others are really trying to figure that out, so that, because I have to say that our teachers, they really do, their preference is to be in person with every single one of their students, because when we think about teaching and learning, it's a large part of it is done in relationship. That's why I asked at the beginning of this meeting if you would please turn on your video, because it's really hard to talk to a number or to a name with no face. And similarly, it's hard to connect sometimes with people in relationship if they don't get to at least see each other once or twice in person. So our teachers, their preference is in person, but the number one thing is they want to feel safe for themselves and safe for for their families. And many of our teachers also, like me, I don't mind sharing my age. I'm 54, so I'm getting close to that more vulnerable group. And we have other teachers too who are in my age group and might have some other vulnerabilities in association with that. And we have to be really mindful and caring about wanting to protect their safety. So that's what keeps us from saying, yes, we're gonna have everybody in person on the first day of school and we're gonna do everything possible to make that happen. But safety really is the first consideration. What other questions are coming up?
I have a question regarding the medical results that we need to submit to finish the kindergarten enrollment. But nowadays, nowadays it's not advisable to go to checkup unless you have a real reason. So since we all are starting 100% learning, I mean, do we really need to submit that to finish the enrollment by August as usual?
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up, because we understand from the Public Health Department officer, Dr. Roy and Dr. Cody, that unfortunately the children's immunization rate is down, I want to say 40%, but I'm not positive, so don't quote me on that. And that lends itself to a whole nother set of problems in our community if we aren't making sure that we're immunized, because the immunizations help protect us against other diseases that at one point in time could have been a pandemic. But now, because of immunizations, they are not a pandemic. So we want to make sure we suppress that, and it's imperative that you take your child to have the immunizations and that you need to have it done by August 13th, because that's the
we have submitted the immunization records, which is current, but I'm saying about the doubter's letter, the other letter, the letter the state required, which is different from the immunization record.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because that one you need to go into the visit the doubter, no like the immunization record where we can just give a copy as long as it's current. I'm talking about the option of not visiting the doubter during this time. Anyway, most of them don't really want you to come in, right? Unless you really you are really due for the immunization.
Gotcha. Well, I think I'll check back on that with the County Public Health Department officer and have an answer for you later.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Superintendent.
Because that's the only piece of paper that I'm missing to complete the enrollment. That's why.
Okay.
Superintendent Jordan, could you talk about the homeschool and losing the spot answer about if parents enroll in distance learning or educate everywhere, it's like they're getting the impression that that's not at their home school, or they're not connected to their home school, or they're losing their spot. Could you talk to that part, please?
Yes. So let me give an example. So let's say my son Eddie is attending distance learning and his home school is Weller. And in December, at the end of the semester, I decide that he really isn't doing very well with 100% distance learning. So then I let the district office and let my homeschool Weller know that Eddie is really not working out well in 100% distance learning at all. So I want to have him come back to Weller for the hybrid, for the in-person. Then if there is space available at that point in the year, then he goes back to Weller. But let's say there isn't space available at that point in the year. What we think would help to minimize that sense of not being at your home school is if we have buddy schools. So perhaps my buddy school with Weller might be Pomeroy, and maybe Pomeroy has room for Eddie to finish out the year in person with the hybrid. So then he would be assigned there. But then in the fall of 2022, he goes back to Willard. I hope that helps.
Dear
Cheryl.
board, I have a question.
Mhm.
So my daughter is just starting public MUSD for the first time, but she has not received any communication at all. So how does she choose between online versus in-person classes or the hybrid option?
Okay, if you go to the front page of our website, at the top, there's a, along the menu, it says enrollment, and if you click there, and then it'll have a button for you to click for registering for 100% distance learning. And Ms. Rodriguez, is there anything to add to that?
No, it's the website is the best place to go, and our main page, you will go to enrollment and it would have all of the instructions as to if you are new to our district or if you are continuing there.
Okay.
Or you can always reach our learning and development department. You can reach myself and we will direct you. We have been fielding lots of questions in our department, supporting our parents who have been calling.
Thank you. I have not received any communication from Zanker at all, so I don't even know what's going on.
May I ask what grade level your child is and when did you register them? But maybe we can connect and if you can send me an email, androdriguez@musd.org, and I'll follow
I'll
up.
do that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And Ms. Rodriguez, could you also talk about Randall, where we have our dual immersion, our world languages school? And just as an aside, everybody, Randall is our dual immersion school where currently we have Spanish as the second language. And once we get to 6th grade with Spanish, we'll be adding a third language. So it'll be our world languages school. So the question, Ms. Rodriguez, is what if I have my child at Randall? Are there enough teachers to also do 100% distance in that program?
Yes, we do. We, with Randall, we have to work with the teachers in terms of the numbers that are choosing 100% distant learning and the hybrid model. We will accommodate within those numbers.
Okay.
Hi, I have one question. As per my understanding, currently we can opt in for the 100% learning only till December. Is there any way we can opt in for 100% learning for the entire school year?
Ms. Rodriguez.
Yes, that basically I would like to reiterate what Superintendent Jordan was explaining in terms of the MUSD. It's MUSD Educate Everywhere is our it's our program. And within that umbrella, you have two models. You have the 100% online instruction or distance learning, and we have the hybrid model. And so we would like to offer that choice. Those are two pathways that our parents can select. And we want to honor the parents' request for a whole year if that is what is working for their children. We want to do it in a semester base as much as possible because we are monitoring the student's progress and we want to make a choice that works best for the child and how the child is responding to this level of instruction and learning.
Thank you. The reason I asked the question because when I registered my daughter, the website just said that, again, we had to agree for at least one semester, but it didn't give an option that we can agree for the entire year.
Would you mind repeating that?
The reason I asked this question because when I registered my daughter, the website only says that as a parent, we have to agree for 100% distance learning, at least for a semester. But I don't think it gives an option where we can just check something where we can say that we are agreeing to for 100% learning for the entire school year.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I totally agree with you in terms of at the beginning, we were thinking of providing this choice for our parents who were opting for 100% virtual. And we wanted the commitment to be at a minimum 6 months or a semester. Not to say that we are not going to, if it works for the students, continue for the entire year.
Thank you.
This is Pinali, and I want to ask that whether we have to opt in for hybrid too, or it's if we don't opt in, it's like okay, that is good.
No, let me just no, the model is hybrid, and for the social distancing, we want to make sure that our students, it is the social distancing because of the space that the committee opted for a hybrid model to bring in and phase into the hybrid slowly to not to train, but for all of us train how it feels like in terms of learning in an environment that is small group, that we're using the face mask and all of those things that we want to make sure that we're safe. That's what we wanted to phase in slowly. The 100%, that's the only difference is that in the 100%, you don't have a person face-to-face in-person instruction.
Yeah, I asked that because so if I don't opt in for 100%, I automatically fall into the hybrid one, right? Okay, great. My second question is, if when would be the first in-class session for hybrid? Like in-class session, would it start in September or immediately in August?
In August.
In August? Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Chris, a quick question. Ishita here. And I wanted to ask this question about, we're starting 100% distance learning the first 6 weeks. Great. If I do not sign up for 100% distance learning, then I fall into hybrid. Great. Now in hybrid, let's say at the end of the 6th week, what is the criteria to go into in-person learning? Like I've heard from school districts in Bay Area that 7 consecutive days off, no increase in cases, new cases, and whatnot. So what is Milpitas USD's criteria for going in person?
Thank you for asking that question. It's a question actually that the other 31 superintendents discussed today with the public health department officer. And at this point, we don't have any sort of measurement such as that we can point to. So we will continue to monitor. And if the public health department sets some kind of criteria like that for Santa Clara County, that's what we'll abide for. Otherwise, we will continue to monitor and provide updates.
Ms. Jordan?
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
My name is Edwin Magan, and my son is going to go to 1st grade. So for us to make a decision on the hybrid versus bringing the kids to the school, I know that you said that you guys are working on the protocols and what it's going to be later for that. But for us to make a decision, can you give us some guidelines that you guys are going to have for the kids when they show up to school? Like typically the health department is asking 6 questions, right? If the kids has been having fevers or anything, if the parents have traveled, and in the community that we live in, a lot of parents, they typically travel due to work. How are you guys going to track that to feel comfortable for us to send the kids, knowing that a lot of parents probably are going to be traveling, mostly when things go to the normal that we're going to have?
Thank you. The public health department's requirements for that are that if the child's parents have traveled out of the country, that is no longer one of the questions. The questions have to do with the symptoms. And also the latest is that the temperature check is not necessarily accurate. So it's really the symptoms check. And our systems and safety is working out how we can identify what each child's symptom is and also each adult symptom at the beginning of the school and work day. And we will provide the specifics about that as soon as we have that worked out. And also we are looking for further direction from the Public Health Department.
Thank you.
Hi, Superintendent Jordan. My name's Tina Lau, and I have a question. I'm really concerned about the socialization opportunities that would be afforded in this model. How do you see that happening during the 6 weeks of distance only? Will there be opportunities for maybe some of the to be pre-assigned or cohorts so that maybe the families can get together, form social bubbles, or have other sort of play opportunities for the younger kids? My child is going to be in first grade, and already I know not having the socialization is going to be a negative impact.
That's a really interesting idea about creating a bubble based on what the child's classroom teacher, who the child's classroom teacher is. We'll have to look into that. That's a really good idea.
Hi, my question is regarding the TK. We enrolled for TK early in January, and back when there was no such situation and the forms were submitted. So to kind of opt in for online or hybrid, do we have to kind of go back and redo the enrollment forms online, or is it automatically enroll for 100% online programs? Have we physically dropped the forms at our Zanker school? Our home school is Zanker.
Great. Assistant Superintendent Rodriguez.
Sure. So we do have the TK numbers and enrollment forms are all in our office. And today we have been looking at those forms, and we sent an email to all of our parents. If we missed you, if you did not receive an email and you want to opt in for a for 100% distance learning, I encourage all of our TK parents who want to opt for that. You can send us an email, again, Norma Rodriguez at musd.org, so that you can, so that we can direct you.
Okay, thank you. And another follow-up question is there an option for TK kids to move up to K by an assessment, or that's not an option?
We usually do have a policy for acceleration, and in order for us to accelerate students, we require that students be enrolled in that grade level for a minimum of 20 days.
Thank you.
Hi, I have another question. Say it's other way around. Say if my kid has been overflowed from his home school, and I opt for hybrid model wherein he goes to in-person classroom thing. So does he, is there a chance that he could go back to his home school where he was overflowed before?
Ms. Rodriguez?
Sure. So we, the overflow, right now, the students that we had to overflow for the most part are the students at Matos because of facilities. And for them to go back to their home, that is not feasible. Other students going back to the home school, it's a little challenging to look at the numbers.
Okay. Was just a question that if the hybrid model at school is not picked up, then does he have it?
Mr. Curtner, do you know why the echo goes on?
Somebody.
We're working on it.
Thank you.
Hello, I have a question. My daughter enrolled back in before the coronavirus starts, but we have not received email. When I log on ARIS, I saw her status is inactive. I did find her name because she was at the elementary school at MSUD, but the overflow, so he left for a year and come back. So how do I check if her status, enrollment status, is already in there, or how do I check? I mean, is Iris the right place to check the status or somewhere else?
And Aries is the right to check for the status. What is happening right now is that our parents are looking at, it shows inactive because the 2019-20 academic year has not ended yet until summer school is over. Then we'll do the rollover for the new academic year. And that's where the parents are having difficulty when they go into the Aries parent portal and they see the current academic year, not next year. At any rate, if you have any difficulty and you want to verify it, I know that at our sites, our secretaries, the schools are closed, but you can always send us an email to Learning and Development and we can help you with that, clarify that.
Hello, I have a question. So the question is, will the same teachers who teach online for 100% distance learning will be the same teachers who are teaching the in-person or different set of teachers?
Different set.
Or different set.
Let me, hold on, let me, could you go a little bit deeper into that question in terms of?
So for example, if my son opts for 100% deep distance learning, and so there are kids who goes to school for hybrid learning, right? Will the same teacher teach for both the distance learning as well as the in-person students?
For the online portion.
For the online portion, yes.
Okay.
It is the same teacher. So what I'm hearing you say, you're asking if I am opting for a hybrid model, my child is going to be having a in-person, face-to-face in-person 2 days a week. The other 3 days, who's teaching them is the same teacher. The other days is asynchronous, meaning
yeah, so the other 3 days is going to be the same teacher because every kid is going to be online. So I agree. For the 2 days when the kids are in class, and those 2 days kids will be 100% distant learning, maybe in Zoom. So at that time, will the same teacher teach the class as well as in the Zoom, or is it going to be different?
So I
Different
would probably answer that question this way. We can share with you some of the data in terms of how many of our teachers have been involved in preparing for the upcoming school year. And their goal is to be the best they can be at in-person, online, and hybrid. If there are possibilities or opportunities, like there was a question in the chat about science, that there's a teacher that can work with students on a particular subject because it is a passion, it is what they've been committed to, it's one of their areas of expertise. All of those details are going to be worked out at each of the individual school sites in terms of who's going to be teaching online, who's going to be teaching in person, who's going to be teaching the particular grades, who's going to be able to provide particular areas of subject matter expertise, like science, because there's a lot of things that Milpitas Unified School District has offered to their children. And we are realizing the number of things that we've been offering and how we transition all of those things during these uncertain times is still a work in progress.
Thank you.
Cheryl, can I say something? Hold on. Can I help him? Can I answer? I think I can answer your question, sir.
Sure,
so I'm a
please.
teacher.
Sure.
So I'm either a teacher of a hybrid model where I will see, once we go back to school, I will see the kids in the classroom as well as online. Then there will be teachers that are only virtual distance learning teachers. Those two do not mesh. They are two separate classrooms. Room 2, room 5. They're not the same. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, that answers the question. I had because of essential jobs, I'm gonna need daycare for my incoming kindergartner. And so if I choose 100% distance learning for her, what kind of attendance will she need to, if I send her to daycare 5 days a week for the full day, she won't necessarily be able to log online to mark as attending. will she lose her spot at Curtner? She's an incoming kindergartner.
It's an interesting question because there is a state requirement that we have to do daily attendance. And the reason it's a little presents a different kind of possibility is because kindergartners aren't necessarily mandated to be in school by state law until they're age 6. So we need to think that one through and get back to you on that.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, my homeschool is Matters. I have the same question, similar question. My kid is 2nd grade and she'll be coming for the 3rd grade. But let's say if we opt in for distance learning, right? So is she going to lose the seat?
Would you ask that question again, please?
Yeah, so our homeschool is Matters and my kid is in 2nd grade and she'll be coming for 3rd grade. And let's say if we opt in for the distance learning, are we going to lose the seat in Matters?
Matters will still be your homeschool. So are you asking, will she lose the seat if you're in 100% distance learning for the year?
Yes.
No, she'll still be at Matos for 22-23.
Okay, got it.
Good evening. I have a question. So my son, he has classified as English as a second language. So how are they going to be assessed current school year? And secondly, is there any extra assistance being provided to the parents so they can help those kids?
Yes, we will have a assessment for students who are English learners because we have to do the annual assessment, so that will still take place.
Mm-hmm.
And we just today I was talking with the subcommittee working on the English learner needs for Musd Educate Everywhere. And we talked about the need for dedicated language development time and how to implement that. So yes, we will be focused on how we can make sure that we're meeting the needs of our English learners.
Thank you.
My question is about the rollovers, like my son graduated in Valor from grade 3 to grade 4. What is the timeline or cutoff to submit the documentation, like you need address proof and other documentation as part of enrollment for the next class? Every year when kids roll over to the subsequent class and they graduate, there's certain documentation and form that you resubmit to school. What is the cutoff date for that?
I'm having a difficult time hearing you because you keep breaking up. I'm not sure.
My question is about the documentation required and the cutoff date for the enrollment in the next year when the kids are rolling over from grade 3 to grade 4.
For 21-22?
Yes.
Well, for 21-22 enrollment.
Sorry, for 2020 and 21 session starting on.
Okay. All right. And your child is a new to the schools.
No, no. He's currently in Valor grade 3, graduating to grade 4.
Okay. So unless you're wanting him to be in 100% distance learning, he is registered and good to go for Weller. And if you want him to be in the 100% distance learning, then you do need to go online and register him for that.
We are going for the distance learning program, sorry, the hybrid program.
Then you don't need to do anything.
No documentation required, everything's automatically rolled over?
Right.
Got it, thank you.
Hi, I have a question. So did you tell like for how many hours, if we opt for 100% distance learning, then would the classes be every day and for how many hours?
For everybody, and Musd Educate Everywhere, so everybody, every student, we have to follow the guidelines of daily minimum minutes. So every child who's in kindergarten and TK will have 180 minutes each day worth of instruction and learning activities. And for those children who are in 1st grade through 3rd grade, they need to have 230 minutes every day of instruction and learning activities. And everybody in grades 4 through 12 has to have 240 minutes each day of instruction and learning activities. And that is guided by the teacher.
Ms. Jordan, Devi here from Curtner. How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm good. I have a question. The online, both my girls have signed up for online. So will the online teachers be from Curtner or would they be from the pool of elementary teachers?
It's quite possible that they will be from the pool of elementary teachers, as well as possible that it might be somebody from Curtner. What we talked about as a possibility, and you know, every plan you come up with can't be perfect, especially in these days and times. So what we thought about that might be a possibility is if we partner schools, then you would have 2 schools that have the teachers with sharing the kids in either the online or not online. But we don't know that that's certain. So it is quite possible that your child will have one of our elementary teachers from the pool of elementary teachers who are doing 100% distance learning. And I have to assure you that regardless of if I'm a teacher at Curtner, Willer, Pomeroy, Randall, I am an MUSD teacher, which means I have the same expectations, the same love for my kids as everybody in the other schools.
What happens to those kids once, you know, that the kids could go back to school full time?
What do you mean by kids going back to school full time?
Well, let's say we have a vaccine, it's safe for the kids to go back in school, but the virtual students have teachers assigned to a different school. How would that work?
We're going to, if there's a miracle and we have a vaccine and have a school year, we will figure out how to get everybody back in person in their home school.
Hey, I have a question. So, for what happens kindergarten orientation? So my son will be starting kindergarten, and so earlier it was mentioned that on 4th of August there will be some orientation or something by MUSD for those who are starting kindergartens. Could you elaborate that as to like what will happen? And then second question is, are we still going to get our kids assessed in person if they're going to kindergarten?
So your first question is there something on August 4th for an orientation for kindergarten parents
Yes.
and kindergarten students?
Yes.
And then the second question I couldn't hear very well.
So is there going to be any in-person assessment for the kids who are starting kindergarten?
Yes, at the teacher's discretion in those first 6 weeks, there will be some sort of assessment, possibly in person or online. And Ms. Rodriguez, can you speak to the orientation regarding August 4th?
Sure. All of the parents, it's not for kinder, but it's for the TK parents. All of the TK parents will receive a letter. The letter is going out tomorrow. They will probably receive it in the mail by Friday, in which we are sending all of the information. Is going to be a virtual, different times, and we will record we call it onboarding, but it's an invitation for us to establish a community for all of our new families coming into Milpitas Unified. For kinder, I know that the principals and in the schools and the teachers developed a schedule to invite the parents for if they're going to be assessing, but because of that has happened in the past, because of the distancing and the COVID, we are allowing their principals to work with their teams and decide and inform their families when that is going to happen.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Hi, I have a question. How soon would we get a confirmation of enrollment?
You will get a confirmation of enrollment in the 100% and your choice of opting in for the 100% distance learning. You will get that confirmation the first week of August.
And what will be the student teacher ratio for distance learning per class?
We are not sure yet. Depends on how many sign up.
Hey Cheryl, we are not able to register our kid to the area. My daughter is starting kindergarten this year. Could you give some instructions on that?
So your daughter is starting kindergarten this year. Can I give instructions on that? Can you go a little deeper into what instructions specifically?
Sorry for that. We are not able to log into the Aries system.
Ms. Rodriguez?
If they're studying in kinder and they're a brand new student, or is it a student who already was in our system and attended kinder and MUSD?
New student, brand new student.
Brand new student. As a brand new student, did you go into our website, enroll and follow the instructions for the new student? There's a pre-enrollment that you need to complete, and it's all online.
Yes, we did that.
And did you get a confirmation in that you got a confirmation number and an ID number?
We got an enrollment ID, but no confirmation number.
Okay, you don't get a confirmation number, only the ID. And if after you did the pre-enrollment, did you, if you want to opt for 100% virtual, then you would go into the same website and there is a form that you complete and then you email it, and it's a fillable form that you complete and then you send it to us, to L&D department. It's in the website, which I had.
Hi, a quick follow-up to that question.
Sorry,
We will take this one last question and we will end our program. It is now 8:04. I know we have a lot of questions in the chat group here. Our communication specialist will go through the questions and make sure that we will have the answers posted or get back to you with the answers. We do have 5 more sessions. So
let's clarify a couple things. We have one more session for the elementary school students. Questions, there is a link in the chat. Scott, if you can put that link in the chat again, please, about where additional questions can be answered. Scott, could you put that in the chat for us, please? We can wait.
Is there any phone number where we can call to get some of our questions clarified, if not in this meeting?
Yes, if you, Scott is getting the email to put into the chat. And in the meantime, I can tell you to go to the website and there is there we go. Thank you. So if you go to the website, there's the superintendent's office and the forms for questions is located there.
So I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. You got great questions. I know this is, it's quite confusing with the programs that I'd like to see for your kids, your child to attend. It will come to light. We will have all the answers to the questions and you will be clear of which way to choose, I guess. So.
And Han, I would like to add that, yes, this is a complex process and we are here to support you, and please take the time to, if you have questions that have not been answered or they have not been answered in a way that's clear to you, maybe rephrase the question when you submit it so that we can publish the most comprehensive information that's possible. There's a lot of good stuff on our website already, and I'm sure with more of these meetings, there will be a much more in a very, very short amount of time. Our goal is to have as much information available before the end of July. We know that school is starting soon, but it's important that we get out as much information as we can to the 10,300 plus parents that we have in Milpitas Unified School District.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you very much, everybody.
Everyone.
And we will see you on Thursday if you have to come back. And tell your friends if they missed out tonight to please join us. And the link for the invite is on our community events calendar, which is found on the front page of our website. You just click calendars.
Thank you, everyone, and good night. We'll hope to see you all on Thursday.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night and stay safe.
Good night.
Good night.